This is what is real value. And when it applies to business, most of us here are business owners, we're business people, we have services or products. So what is it? What is value when it comes to our business? So there's a personal value that Miriam talked about and Elsie talked about. So I want to talk about how you take that information and translate it into your workforce. So we're going to talk about what is it, and then how being a personal brand can be very beneficial to you, and do the math. There's a reason why we have business math, and there's a very important reason. So first, what is value? I'm going to give you 3 examples. I'm going to show you 3 different products or lines that are similar, and you're going to see there's a very big difference in the value that others see monetarily. Okay, so you got McDonald's, right? We all have had that one burger, that the cheapest one they had. And then we have the middle zone, the Big Mac. Notice it's more than double, almost triple the price. And then, believe this or not, this is real, there is a $6,000 hamburger. I think it's absolutely crazy. I'd never pay that kind of money for a hamburger, but somebody does. People go to this restaurant to buy this $6,000 hamburger. Why in the world would they do that? All right, next example. Purses, and some of this might be something that you guys can resonate with. There are people who spend $2,000 for a purse. There are people who will not spend more than $89. And there are people who spend thousands of dollars for a purse. What's the difference? They all hold stuff. So why is one more valuable than the other? What is it about the product or how it was marketed that helps us to see and present a different level of value? One thing we do is even your visual elements in your marketing. If you look at these 3 examples, you're going to see different color palettes. And if you start to notice this, you'll see this consistently. When you see this blue and the yellow and some of those colors, you're going to see that it is a lower level brand. It is a cheaper product, but they have to sell a ton of them. Remember that when you're thinking about your products and services. What do you want to do? Do you want to be a Walmart and sell a lot of something, which is perfectly fine? This is your decision, it's your business. Do you want to be a Target or maybe a Belk's or somebody that's a little higher, a little more expensive, but better quality so they last longer? Or do you want to be in the Saks Fifth Avenue world? Do you want to work with and sell to the luxury brands of the universe? So you can see how this visually gives you a different feel. Each one of these presents a different feel. And in that connection to all of those things that we just talked about, presenting and perceiving and sharing our value is super important. Steve Forbes said, your brand is the single most important investment you can make in your business. And why is that? When you are the brand, if you are a personal business and you are the brand, you are the business, you are the one they call. If you're not putting yourself out there and being a part of that business, people are disconnected to you. Our society has really grown to understand brands. We think of it more corporate. So we're going to play a little game if you guys are ready. There are 7 items. I can't see the chat, but I want you guys to fly the answers in. Some of these are for a little older crowd, so it's kind of interesting always to see who gets these. But these are slogans, and every one of them represents one company. See how many you guys can get. And if either Miriam or Elsie can
so they're saying Nike or Nike, KFC, Winn-Dixie, Maybelline, Nike, Kentucky, Wendy's, Papa John's, Nike, Wendy's, Papa John's, Capital One, Papa John's.
Really good, I have to tell you. Here's the answers, just so you
Discover.
Now, why did I bring this up? And why are we talking about these? Are logos. Okay, logos is a way of branding, but when you are the business, your face is your brand. You can have a logo. Logos are important because it's a piece of recognition. It is how people identify you, how they learn to know you and trust you, and they get respect. So it's very important to have both the logo, but also your face is who they buy from and who they trust. So that's why that is a very important aspect of, especially when you're a solopreneur or something. And here's an example. I don't know if any of you have heard of every one of these women, but if you haven't, I recently last year came across Madam CJ Walker, and I never heard of her before because you learn as you grow, right? And she is there's a movie about her. She is an incredible example of somebody who branded herself despite all odds. She grew up in the, when the it was called prohibition, not prohibition, when the segregation was very, very strong. So there was still a lot of racial hatred between the white population and the darker population. And she found a need, she learned how to do it, and then she did it, and she branded herself. She used her face. It wasn't as pretty as the models, it wasn't as thin as the models. She became the brand. Coco Chanel is another one. These are just quotes I thought you'd find interesting. Kate Spade, we probably have heard of her. She's no longer with us. Neither is Madam CJ Walker. Her daughter is, though. But there's something about them. There's something about their personality that came through their products that we started to see. Think of Oprah. She's an incredible example. She's of a woman who branded herself and she doesn't even need a logo. Oprah is all we need to hear. So that's where some of that power comes from. Oh, so that is the power of personal branding. And in that branding, you teach yourself value. You present yourself as valuable. You get to choose. Remember, you get to choose in your business whether you're going to be a Walmart. And when you're a Walmart, you have to sell a lot of things. So if that's your objective, you have to know that ahead of time. If you're a middle level product, then you don't have to sell as many. If you are a more expensive, then you have to sell less, but you better increase the experience. You better increase the luxury feel. So you have to give value for value, right? So now here's the sad thing. A lot of people don't do the math in their business. It is shocking how many people do not do their own math. If you don't do your math, you cannot know what your value is for time, for materials, for everything else. And a lot of people don't do math because they're afraid. And what are they afraid of? They're afraid the numbers will show they failed. This is one of the biggest reasons companies go down. They didn't do the math. They didn't check ahead of time to see whether there was profit in their price. So they didn't make projections. They didn't figure out how many people they needed to sell to. That's where those A, B, and C, the Walmart, the Target, and that's why knowing that is important. Because if I know I have to reach thousands, I'm going to market very differently than if I am reaching only 50 people a year, right? I'm going to think very differently in how I market. Also, people don't have a budget for marketing. Years ago, many of us remember, I mean, we used to have to pay for the yellow pages. I'm dating myself, obviously. People would pay for newspaper ads, all kinds of ads. That was just normal business operations. And then social media stepped in and we stopped spending money on advertising. But that no longer works. It worked 5-10 years ago very effectively, but it no longer works because they've changed the game on us. Now we have to think, you have to do Google ads. You don't have to, but I mean, you have to do something more than just being on social media and trying to get people to see you. There's just too many people on there for that to work nowadays. So the two biggest reasons that businesses fail is they have no clear plan and no clear budget, or they don't implement that plan or budget. And again, why does that happen? Again, it's usually fear-based. And it could be the fear that Miriam was talking about earlier. I don't deserve to be successful. I don't deserve whatever that fear is. That's the fear we're trying to help you guys overcome, because the math actually will help you. If you take a product, I have a case study, but I don't have time to show it to you now, but I can if you want to stay around later. But it basically shows you, if you take the product, all the costs, and then put in your profit, and then you compare it to the competitive price, how do you work with that? Because sometimes the guy down the street is a third of the price. Can you justify and work with that? Or do you just make a different decision? How does that knowledge give you good information to make wise decisions? Because when you undervalue what you do and who you are, I'm going to add that in there, the world will undervalue who you are. So it's got to start in here. Then it comes up here. Actually, it starts up here and then comes down here. And then it starts to come out. And it really does have to happen in full circle. So in business, we have two choices. There's more than that, but I'm simplifying this whole thing. You could do what most people do, and you could not review your math. You could hope that whoever taught you the system was right. You could hope their math was right. And you can just pray and do your job and hope, right? That's an option. Or you can see the value of doing the math, which means you can plan, you can budget, you can market, and now you're serving the clients you're choosing to serve. Who are those clients that you're looking for? So that's the value of math in business. So do you wing it or pray? I'm a firm believer in prayer, so I'm not disqualifying that at all. It's just, he works much better if you have a plan. Any business is not a guarantee. We always have to remember that. Business is not personal. There are things outside of us that we cannot control. 2007, I think, is a great example. There are tons of people who lost everything that year, business-wise. They had no control over that. The year before, they were doing great. But you just rise again. You learn and you make better decisions next time. So you have to ask yourself, is it worth it? And the numbers will help you. They'll know where you're spending your time, where you're wasting your time. So please don't be a business that just looks around and says, oh, we got it. Do your math. You are valuable. You are important. And that math is almost like you can clearly see your value through that math. And then when you're talking about price, which is, I think, one of the hardest things for most of us, is when we have to say, this costs, and then we freeze and we go, oh, I hate asking for money. I'm not gonna lie. It's one of the hardest things for me to do. And that's because I don't really care about the money. That may sound funny. I need the money to pay the bills, to keep giving you service, but I don't care about the money. Money is not my motivator. Helping people is my motivator. So if that motivates me, I don't want to ask you for a transaction for helping. It feels wrong. But when I know there's value in what I'm doing, and that value will help you, it'll help you grow and be more successful in your own business, then it's a different level of, it's not an exchange, it's a grow together, if that makes any sense. So we talked about first that you are worth it. See your value your time, value your experience. And then second, we talked about the model decision, the decision you get to make as to what products you're going to sell, what services you're going to sell, and who is who is the market you're trying to feed? There's really three major ones. You have kind of a lower, a middle, and an end. And all of those make money. They just have to be done differently. McDonald's and Walmart spend an incredible amount of money on advertising. So that's how they succeed. Without that, they wouldn't succeed. They'd be just like every other store that doesn't quite make it. And then you have to do the math. I mean, you have to price for profit. If you don't include your profit in your price, you're not going to be around for much. You know, you'll run out of steam. You'll feel overwhelmed. You'll be stressed, and you'll keep trying, and you keep banging your head against a wall. And I don't want to see any of you do that. I want to see every single one of you succeed. So market with confidence, believe in your value, and let's rock 2025. Does that sound like a plan?
Awesome. Awesome.
And let's see. So I'm going to kind of wrap this up. Few things we have down the pike. We have a retreat for women. Miriam and I are facilitating a retreat for women that includes pretty much full branding, from the branding side of it to Miriam. You want to get on? Yeah. From the branding side of the logos, the colors, and some of the thinking, the persona, the brand persona, if you know anything about all of that. She gets into all of that, and she also gets into some of the life coaching and some of the barriers that we have to get to those places. So there's two QR codes. One is our podcast that we host. Be kind to us because we're just starting. And Elsie has been interviewed, and hers was awesome. So if you're interested in learning more about us and how crazy we are, that's the place to find it. But the retreat itself is really special. So I'm just going to take a couple of minutes to tell you about it. It is a group of people, very small, 3 to 4 women that are similar. They're similar in mind, in goals, in their brand language. And that's because we are going to pick a house that we do a photo shoot in that has to match those brands. So you actually pick the house after you get the people. It's kind of odd. Normally you sign up and say, yes, I want that one. But we actually do this a little backwards. But that gives you the opportunity to have a say in what kind of a space you're presenting yourself with your brand. Is it a seaside country place, or is it a mountain place, or what kind of vibe are you looking to project inside your business brand? And then we do a photo shoot. We do a complete day of development, personal development, and then a full day of the photo shoot to back up that personal development. So the two go together. You have a message, you have a belief, you have action, and now I'm giving you material that you can go kick your marketing with. So that's what that's all about. And just for those who registered, and if you haven't registered, can somebody put in, Elsie or Miriam, can you put in the link to that webinar? Because a few of you don't have your email address, so I just want to make sure that if I don't, I do. Because I'm going to email you the details of this, but you can save up to $1,100 right now, only for 24 hours if you register. Just for this audience, because I believe this audience is special. You showed up today, which means you believe in yourself. You know you can grow. You know that you're worth it. You may have to argue with yourself about it, but you're doing it. And that's what's important.
What is it that you want us to put in the chat, Ariel? The address to how to register for the next webinar?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the same one on my main page. So it's arielfaith.com, and it's at the very top. And it does say January 7th, but it's the same registration. And we are coming back again next quarter, April 1st. And we're going to talk about the power of yes and no, setting boundaries that support success as women, mothers, grandmothers. We have to learn how to do this to succeed. And we're going to share some of the tips that help us do it. So I hope you enjoyed it. Anybody have any questions or anything we want to talk about, let me unshare this thing here.